music, and science. They're completely different. One is very complex and requires memorization, mathematical principles, logic, and creativity to create something illuminating and inspirational. And the other is science. Okay, so maybe they're not that different after all. But don't take my word for it. Let's see what a real musician has to say. Welcome to another episode of The Scene in STEAM. My guest for this episode is Nina Bucknor. Nina, I'm so happy to have you on today's episode. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me, of course.
Yeah. So you are the art portion of STEAM. You're a music and Spanish double major, correct?
Correct, yes.
So what led you to this wanting to be your focus?
Ooh, well, it started with just Spanish. I realized in high school that I was good at teaching Spanish and I liked it, so I said, why not? Give it a shot. And throughout the years, God's kind of molded my experience and helped me to know that He actually wanted me to do Spanish. And then later on came the music part, and that one is kind of the funny one because I didn't really want to do music, but I actually thought that God was leading me there as well. So I continued on that path, and after coming back from Spain, I had both majors. So.
Got you. And yeah, and you do a lot with your majors. You went to Spain, and you're currently taking classes. You're always practicing violin, and you have your blog. So in doing all those things, what has become the thing you love the most about it, and the thing that you maybe don't love as much?
Well, now that you were describing the different things I do related to my majors, I realize I like the avenues that it gives me. Like I can do multiple things. I can write in Spanish, read in Spanish, talk to other people. I can have different types of jobs. I also teach piano and I taught violin for just a little bit. So there's a lot I could do and it makes it a little overwhelming, but I think it's also the part that I like the most, being able to pivot. Like if I don't want to do this week, I can write in my blog this week or teach the next week. So I really like the versatility of my majors for sure.
And in your blog, you talk a lot about your experiences, and you also do volleyball. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Your experiences not only doing music, but also in sports and your work and traveling. And you said it's kind of a way to like step back. In talking about those things, would you recommend other people to have a blog to kind of be a self-therapy for them in a way?
You know, when I was doing my blog, I wasn't sure exactly where it would end up. I wanted to make sure I documented my experience in Spain, and then it kind of morphed into where I guess it is kind of a therapy session that I have. So yes, definitely, especially if you know you're a writer, why not try blogging? It's a great way to store all your memories and also just to kind of boost your confidence because you think other people will want to read what you have to say. So yeah, definitely try it out. If you have an experience you're about to do, you know, you're going to travel or maybe even just in school, there's always something that you learn. So you might as well write it down. And who knows, maybe after your life, someone else will be inspired by the accumulation of all the posts that you've had and all the experiences you've had. So why not gather them all together? Because your experiences are important.
I'm definitely always inspired by your posts, inspired by all that you do. And we talk a little bit about our majors, and we're always like, I could never do what you do. I could never do what you do.
That's right.
But do you think there are any intersections between learning languages and studying music and learning science? What would you say to that?
I think there are a couple similarities. I think the differences are kind of obvious. So, like, you know, I mean, some people say they use different parts of the brain. I'm not sure about that. I haven't researched. But I do think there are similarities that we don't take into account. I was considering possibly how both majors or both sides are critical thinkers and they have to solve problems and they have to do it creatively.
Right.
So actually in the practical side of it, the studying side, yes, we're reading totally different textbooks. Yours probably costs a lot more than mine for some reason.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, in the practical side of it, when you're actually out working, both people, both majors, both who people who've studied different subjects, they both have to use their creativity to solve the problems that they go through, whether that be in the doctor's office or wherever I will be. I don't know.
Right.
You know, maybe that's in the classroom, maybe that's in a music hall. There are situations where, especially people may not think it, but if you're playing violin and maybe something happens to your violin while you're playing, or you know, you may not feel the most comfortable. You have to decide in that moment, how are you going to make sure what you came to do actually gets done. So I think in both situations, that's what makes science and the arts similar.
I agree. And I'd also say, to add, we also both need discipline. You're so disciplined, more than I am. You have like a set schedule for everything, and practicing, and you always have to go back. What your goal is 3 hours a day, correct?
Wow, bringing that up. Let's see. Hey, that's a high goal. Practically, or do I actually get 3 hours a day? Absolutely not. But 3 hours a day would be great, and probably at this level, it's appropriate. But yeah, it's my goal.
Yeah.
I get to like an hour and 30, depending.
And what you do, and for any type of artistic major, would you say that discipline and scheduling is really important to your success, or do you say that it contributed to your success?
Definitely with music. I know if you're a performing major like I am, the whole point is for you to perform, you have to have discipline behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Even though it's lonely, it's not necessarily a major you get to do with other people unless you're performing. So when you're actually practicing, it takes me a lot. God has definitely made me into a person who can do more than 45 minutes a day. That used to be me, and that it wasn't even consistent. So I've seen growth, because I can get up to, like, you know, like I said, an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes. So yeah, it takes some discipline. For Spanish, I think it also takes discipline. If you see yourself going somewhere where you're working maybe every day, and you know you need certain skills, you have to develop those skills, and that's always going to start by yourself. It's going to start with discipline, and it's going to start with having a schedule and sticking to it, you know, so.
And I'd definitely say you've cultivated a lot of skills in all that you've learned and all that you like to do. And you sometimes talk about how you don't want a just traditional 9-to-5 job, or you're not sure exactly, there's not like one pinpoint of a job that you want. What would you say to someone who is similar to you and doesn't want a traditional 9-to-5, but they have a lot of interests and they want to pursue those interests somehow?
Well, I would say admit that you don't want a 9-to-5 job. I've been talking to my parents, a couple of more other wise people. I realize, you know, some things you can't avoid. You may need to get a job that's consistent and like all throughout the day, just to make sure you have money, maybe in the beginning of your career. But keep in mind those main goals that you have. I've been reading a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth, and she talks about a lot of things that have inspired me and kind of morphed my the way I look at careers. So it's important to know your higher level goals, like she says. So know what you're aiming for, and the abstract, like she says, the abstract of it, like what do I actually want out of life? So start there and kind of break it down and try to see where among your interests are they related, so that you can kind of see, okay, if I want to do music and Spanish, where is a place in the work field that I can do both of those things? There's several ways you can explore about that. And once you figure that out, ways that you can combine all of your interests as much as possible, then start exploring, really. Try one thing. For me, I know I started teaching piano. Someone invited me to teach first, so it's not something I actually put myself out there to do, but I do like it. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't tried. I could have said, oh, this is not what I wanted to do. It's not exactly on my path, but it did have to do with where I was heading, since I was a music major. So trying different things, seeing what you like, especially in a time where if you're still dependent on your parents, you don't need to make so much money. Definitely explore those things, like maybe for me, interpreting. Like maybe I don't have to teach all day. Try it. Go find places to do that. Go talk to people older and wiser than you that have tried different careers. You'll find very quickly that people change their careers maybe mid, 20s, 30s, and you think, oh, they had a direct path and they knew what they wanted to do. So people like me who maybe don't want more of a freelance type of thing, I definitely say try it, especially now when you have the time. And if you're already in that situation where you need money, definitely don't stress when you have to get a job that's more consistent, but keep exploring. Don't stop. Don't give up on your dreams.
Wow. Well, thank you, Nina. Thank you so much for coming today, and you inspire me so much. I can't wait to see what you end up doing and what blog posts you continue to write. You guys can read Nina's blog posts at her blog in the description below on her website, and you can follow xSTEAM at xxSTEAM on Instagram. If you'd like to see more episodes of The Scene in STEAM, please be sure to check on the YouTube channel and also the Instagram. Thank you so much.